A racing game should grab you the second you launch it, right? That feeling of the car's handling, the beauty of the asphalt, the color of the sky, everything should instantly pull you in from the very first second. That's exactly why in this video, we're going to talk about racing games that look almost photorealistic. Whether it's simulation or arcade, we'll cover all of them. Let's get started. Need for Speed. At the very top of our list is probably a game you've seen all over the internet. Need for Speed. Honestly, if this game had released as Need for Speed Underground 3, it would have been loved even more by everyone. But that didn't happen. Built on EA and Ghost Games' Frostbite engine, this NFS entry became one of the darkest and most atmospheric games in the entire franchise. Ventura Bay's rain-soaked asphalt, the reflections sliding across the car under streetlights, and the never-ending night sky all create the strongest visual identity of the game. Everything takes place at night, in the rain, under neon lights, and that limitation doesn't feel like a weakness at all. It feels like a deliberate artistic choice. When the car paint reflects on wet roads, the result looks like one of the most cinematic visuals the NFS series has ever delivered. And honestly, I'd easily put this game in my top 3 racing games of all time. What do you think? Let's talk in the comments. Grid Legends. Released in 2022 by Codemasters and EA, Grid Legends is one of the most visually diverse racing games in the genre. From narrow Paris streets to the deserts of Egypt, from night races to heavy rain circuits, every track delivers a completely different atmosphere. Lighting and shadows are especially impressive in night scenes. City lights reflect on car bodies, creating multi-layered glossy reflections that feel almost alive. The story mode, presented with live-action style sequences similar to Drive to Survive, pushes the game beyond just being a racing title. Different vehicle classes also feel visually distinct. Heavy trucks shake and vibrate with weight, while Formula E cars shine with a clean, futuristic aesthetic during night races. It's not a pure simulation, but in terms of visual satisfaction, it's easily one of the most generous games on this list. Every vehicle category creates its own stage. The chaos of massive truck collisions feels almost like slow-motion destruction art, and racing through a packed night Le Mans-style grid surrounded by a sea of lights is one of the most intense visual moments the game offers. Definitely a must-play at least once in my opinion. Assetto Corsa Competizione. Kuno Simulazione proves something with this game. Realism and beauty are not opposites. Built on Unreal Engine 4, Assetto Corsa Competizione is the official game of the GT World Challenge series, and from a cockpit view, it often looks indistinguishable from real broadcast footage. Laser-scan tracks capture every tire mark, every concrete crack, every asphalt seam in extreme detail. Car paint layers react differently depending on sunlight and weather conditions. The same car looks like a completely different object in morning light compared to sunset. GT3 cars are modeled with an incredible level of aerodynamic accuracy, rarely seen in racing games. For simulation fans, this game is already a must-play. But even if you only care about visuals, the asphalt alone looks like a piece of digital art. With PS5 and Xbox Series X updates, ray tracing support was added, and in night races, paddock lights reflect beautifully into the sky. The Eau Rouge corner in Spa-Francorchamps during early morning fog looks so realistic it could easily be confused with real broadcast footage. Le Mans Ultimate. As someone who truly loves Le Mans racing, I have to say we're really lucky to have a game like this. Released in 2024 by Studio 397 as the official FIA WEC game, Le Mans Ultimate brings the legendary 24-hour race atmosphere into digital form. The dawn light over the Mulsanne Strait, the harsh midday sun, and the fog-covered Porsche curves at 3 a.m. all define the game's visual identity. The dynamic weather system lets you experience a full day-night cycle in a single race, from sunrise to sunset and into deep night. Hypercar models are extremely detailed. Carbon fiber textures, heat distortion coming from the rear diffuser, and aerodynamic body reflections make this one of the most impressive simulation visuals ever created. The Le Mans track itself is laser scanned, meaning every small bump on the asphalt actually affects your driving input. This is both a simulation milestone and a visual achievement. And honestly, one of the most unforgettable moments is at night on the Mulsanne Strait, where the taillights of cars disappear into the fog at full speed.
Opens 100 over jumps.
Dirt Rally 2.0. Even though I initially approached rally games with some bias, I've always loved this one, and honestly, it has incredible graphics quality. Codemasters basically said in 2019, Rally is not about visual decoration, it's about realism. From the New Zealand bush stages to the muddy roads of Poland, from the icy corners of Monte Carlo, every surface feels completely different both visually and physically. A clean road at the start of a stage becomes a completely different terrain after 20 cars pass over it, covered in dust, mud, and ruts. Cars also evolve throughout the race, race, you start clean, but by the finish line your vehicle is covered in dirt, damage, and the marks of a real battle. With VR support, you can literally feel tree branches brushing over your car. It's not flashy, but it's one of the most realistic rally experiences ever made. Gran Turismo 7. Right now, one of the best-looking racing games you can play is Gran Turismo 7. With this game, Polyphony Digital didn't just make a racing game, they created an automotive manifesto. On PS5 with ray tracing support, Gran Turismo 7 delivers a level of realism in its Scapes photo mode that makes it almost impossible to tell whether the cars are real or virtual when placed in real-world environments. In the garage scenes, spotlights highlight every single layer of car paint individually. There is simply no other game that makes a scratch on the edge of a red Ferrari look this naturally believable in a digital space. The morning sun cutting through fog on the Kyoto track loop, the reflections of Tokyo Expressway's neon lights on gray concrete. Every environment feels carefully crafted. The museum feature explains the history of every car, and honestly, that historical weight sometimes feels just as important as the gameplay itself. With over 400 cars, each one modeled like a piece of art, just launching the game and looking at the vehicles is already a justified way to spend your time. And Scapes isn't just a feature, it's a full photography studio. It's no secret that professional car photographers even use this mode for real-world reference shots. Crew Motorfest. In 2023, Ubisoft turned Hawaii into a racing playground with the Crew Motorfest. The island of Oahu, volcanic coastlines, highways stretching over the ocean, lush green forests, and tropical beaches creates one of the most visually diverse environments in the entire racing genre. The tropical lighting conditions, how midday sun wraps around car bodies, how clouds suddenly cast moving shadows, how reflections behave over the ocean surface, all give this game a very unique identity. Different playlists don't just change the content, they completely change the visual language of the game. A 90s Japan-themed playlist brings a synthwave-inspired color palette, while safari events shift everything into natural earth tones, and all of this exists in the same open world. It's not a realistic simulator, but when it comes to visual variety and consistency, this is definitely one of the most ambitious open-world racing games on this list. Even small biome transitions, like going from volcanic rock cliffs to coastal roads, feel like a massive visual shift, something rare in this genre. And dynamic weather keeps everything alive at all times. One of the most visually impressive moments is in the Kekaha Quarry area, when a sudden rainstorm stops and sunlight hits the wet asphalt, one of those instant atmospheric transitions that really sticks in your memory. Wreckfest 2. Honestly, even though a lot of people might not expect it, Wreckfest 2 absolutely deserves a place on this list because it looks surprisingly good. Bugbear Entertainment is redefining what damage should look like in racing games. Released into early access in March 2025, this game uses the completely rebuilt ROMU engine, combining advanced physics simulation with visual realism. Car bodies don't just bend during crashes, metal layers peel apart step by step, wheels gradually deform as damage builds up, and tire failures visually progress all the way to the rim in a believable way. Each race ends with a kind of visual storytelling. The wreckage left on the track tells you everything about what just happened. Wooden stands, rusted fences, and dirt-covered oval tracks complete the atmosphere. This is not a game about beautiful flowers. It's a game about beautiful destruction. And the fact that it represents damage this accurately is a visual achievement on its own. Even in early access, Romu's destruction system already stands above many competitors in this genre. And with full PS5 and Xbox Series XS versions planned, seeing this level of crash realism on consoles is going to be something special.
Right, and slight right. Easy left of the crest.
EA Sports WRC. Released in 2023 by Codemasters and EA Sports WRC redefines visual standards in rally simulation. Special stages across 17 different countries, from Kenya's red dust-covered roads to Japan's narrow bamboo forest tracks to savanna environments filled with moving wildlife, create hundreds of hours of visual variety even when compared side by side. The dynamic weather system allows instant transitions from dry gravel to deep mud during a single race, and you can actually see every layer of dirt building up on your car in real time. Even small details like carbon fiber interiors in Rally 1 cars or license plate textures on WRC vehicles show how deep the modeling quality goes. This is easily one of the strongest visual rally experiences for both Dirt Rally 2.0 fans and newcomers. And the Builder mode adds another layer. Building your own cars and then seeing them appear in crowded rally scenes gives a very personal visual satisfaction. One of the most iconic moments in the entire game is in the Kenya stage, where massive red dust clouds rise behind the cars, easily one of the most cinematic visuals in the entire list.
Titans late 50.
Assetto Corsa Rally. Released in early access in November 2025, Assetto Corsa Rally is built on Unreal Engine 5 by Supernova Game Studios in collaboration with Kunos Simulazioni. The visual ambition of this game is very clear, bringing laser-scanned precision from circuit racing into rally terrain for the first time. When you enter the muddy stages of Wales, every tire track behaves differently. Mud doesn't just stick to the car, it reacts, splashes and spreads in unique ways depending on each wheel's movement. At the end of the Alsace tarmac stages, when sunlight hits the car body directly, the vehicle almost disappears into glare. That's how intense the lighting can get. Dynamic weather changes don't just happen between stages, but even during a single stage. You can start a run in dry conditions and cross the finish line in heavy rain. With over 120 kilometers of planned laser scan stages in the full version, this game is shaping up to be a landmark title for rally fans. NASCAR 25, released by iRacing in October 2025. NASCAR 25 finally answers the question of what a NASCAR game can look like at its absolute peak visually. For the first time, laser scanning technology has been applied to both tracks and vehicles at the same time. Daytona's banking angles, Martinsville's tight pit entry, and Sonoma's bumpy exits are all recreated with millimeter-level precision. During superspeedway races, when 40 cars rush past the stands in tight formation, the aerodynamic turbulence in the air becomes visually noticeable, and you can actually see how paint layers begin to wear and peel from constant contact. That alone is one of the most striking visuals in the entire game. iRacing's laser scanning foundation has now been brought to consoles for the first time, and that alone raised the visual standard significantly. And honestly, one of the most impressive moments is still the opening corner of a 40-car grid at full superspeedway speed, pure controlled chaos in visual form. Need for Speed Unbound. I know, a lot of people didn't like this Need for Speed, but since it's the latest entry in the series, it genuinely deserves credit for its visual quality. In 2022, Criterion Games did something very bold with this game. They took a realistic world and filtered it through an unreal visual identity, and the result is completely unique. In the Chicago-inspired streets of Lakeshore City, the cars themselves are fully realistic and highly detailed, but the moment you accelerate, everything changes. Exhaust smoke transforms into stylized anime-inspired visual effects, colorful motion trails, and graffiti-like speed graphics. The environment around you remains photorealistic, while the characters are presented in a cel-shaded, almost cartoon-like style. At first, this contrast feels strange, but after a few minutes, you realize you're looking at something completely unique in the racing genre. Street murals, neon billboards, graffiti-covered environments, all of these blend together with your car customization choices, making every race feel like a controlled art direction experiment. No other game on this list makes such a bold decision in terms of visual language. It doesn't just try to look realistic, it creates its own identity and forces you to accept it. And honestly, that's what makes it stand out.